In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. This is the first Sunday of Tuba, and we have in the readings the sequelae of the events of the birth of the Lord. What happened after Jesus was born. And the first story in the Gospel of St. Matthew is Herod killing the children of Bethlehem. And it is important to understand the relationship between the kings and their countries, the relationship between them and the time and the Lord. In the time when Jesus was born, there were two powers in his area in Israel, the Roman and Herod. And Herod, just want to get done with him quickly because he is the one who's doing the killing that we hear about today. Herod was a very vicious man. He's known in history as a terrible ruler. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, he killed one of his wives and he killed a child of his when he felt that they were trying to supplant him to take him out of the rule and establish the son. So he doesn't really hesitate to kill his own family to establish his power. That's very serious. So this is how he establishes his kingdom. So you would say, why would he kill the little babies? Just because the wise men told him, we've seen a star, and you in your country have a baby born, and he would be the king. And he got very alarmed. He would not allow even a speck of doubt. You need to get rid of it, of that baby. When he couldn't find the baby because it's a divine baby, and there was no way for him to find where the baby is, and the wise men left him without an answer who was the baby. He said, okay, let's kill all the babies in that city. What the scripture said, that the Messiah, the king, will be born in Bethlehem. And the wise men said, we saw the stars 2 years ago. It's been 2 years since we are following this star. There's a lot of story about the star and what the star is, but the wise men were very sure of it. They came with gifts, and they were actually determined to offer those gifts to the king. So he said, let's kill all of them. Let me tell you about the Romans. The Romans was the power in the world in the time of Christ. It's very interesting. Who is the Caesar, the ruler, in the time of Christ? St. Luke tells us, and history tells us, who was the Roman emperor. Rome was going through a very interesting time. His name was Augustus. His original name was Octavius. Octavius was a very bright soldier, very brave, very skilled soldier in the army of Julius Caesar, and had a friend. His name is Mark Antony. And you know the story of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. And when Julius Caesar was murdered, Octavius and Mark Antony started looking to take his place. Mark Antony at the time sided with Cleopatra in Egypt. And he managed to get the fleet of Egypt. It was a very considerable fleet, but was nothing compared to the Roman fleet. So when the two met, they met in a place called Actium in the Mediterranean. Octavius won. And you know the rest of the story. It's said that Mark Antony and Cleopatra committed suicide. They couldn't live with that because they knew that Octavius will find them and kill them. It was very vicious. After Octavius took on the rule, he started something that's very ironic. He started what he called Pax Romana. I don't know if you heard about this before. Pax Romana in Latin means, Pax is peace. The peace of Rome, the Roman peace. Very interesting. So how is that peace established in the Roman Empire? How would you establish peace in an empire? What's the first order of business? You have to eradicate all other armies, subdue all countries, Yes, it's a Roman, and he had a struggle with something in the Roman Synod. They are republic. They're not a monarchy. They're not a kingdom. It's a republic. Very interesting. So he made a political appearance of accepting democracy, but in his heart he wanted to establish a monarchy. Very tough. So there was a hypocrisy in a way. But he did, and the first thing we read about in St. Luke Gospel is that all the countries that he subdued, he planned to establish army places. So that he put his army everywhere. And for the army to be able to go and come from Rome and to be able to bring them back into vacations and go back, and the governors and all that stuff, he had to establish roads. That's why you hear the famous word, all roads lead to Rome. Why? Because Augustus is the one who established this, wanted to build roads for his army so he can get the army quickly from one place to another. They don't have to go through snow, ice, forests, rocks, stuff. So for him to build roads and he did some good stuff for other countries, build water works and Roman aqueducts is very famous everywhere. So what did he have to do? He needed money. So for him to get the money, he needed to do what? A census, to count every single human being in his empire. That's what St. Luke starts. It happened in the time of Augustus Caesar in the first census. There was the first census. And then Jesus had to, he's still in the womb of St. Mary and Joseph, they had to go to Bethlehem to be counted in the census. That's how the gospel opens the birth of our Lord. That's why he has to go to Bethlehem. That's why he had to be born in a manger, not in a house. Because Augustus Caesar wanted to do a census so he can establish or build on it the tax system. How you tax people that you don't know. So that's how we understand. And this is how he started the Pax Romana. They said it started in the year 27 BC. And it ended in 180 AD. 207 years of Roman peace. Okay, in that time, the King of Peace, the true peace, will be born. And let's make a little comparison between that Roman peace and Herodian peace and the peace of Christ. There is a very, very, very powerful image. They had taken this verse from Isaiah and they made it into songs. Handel Messiah is one of them. Very famous piece from Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. And we should all know it. Those of us who have never read it before, you missed big time. So let me tell you about this piece, very famous piece, is Isaiah 9:6. For unto us a child is born. You know it. Most of you, I think all of you should know it. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. He's saying us here, and when you hear it as a Jew, you understand us means Israel, Jews. And the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. He doesn't stop. He is called the King of Peace, the Prince of Peace. And then he's going to not stop here, and he's going to continue. Of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end, upon the throne of David and over his kingdom. Very clearly, he's talking about someone, the angel is going to tell St. Mary, he's going to sit on the throne of David, and to his kingdom shall be no end. That's exactly it. To order it and establish it with judgment and justice from that time forward, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. So, this is the Isaiah vision of Christ's birth. He is the King of Peace. So that Augustus Caesar, it's ironic. Augustus Caesar thought of himself as the emperor that will bring peace to the world. He is. But then Jesus comes as the true King of Peace. So let's make this comparison. For Augustus to get peace, he has to get rid of many people. Many people. I would say, in his time they say he ruled over, don't laugh, 60 million people. Now, this is the whole world was almost like maybe 100 million. So he ruled over a big number of people. And he had to kill a lot of them for him to establish peace. When Jesus comes as the King of Peace, he doesn't get any kind of violence against any human being. No violence. So how is going to establish peace? And sometimes you say, Lord, you're the King of Peace and I belong to you. Why there is no peace in the world? Why the world has no peace? Those kings, Augustus, Octavius, and Herod, had to exercise a lot of violence and shed blood of innocent little kids to establish peace. But that's peace for them, by the way. Peace for them. Where would the peace be when he kills the children of Bethlehem? Tell me, what peace is he bringing to Judea or to Bethlehem? Or he's bringing peace to his own mind? That's hypocrisy. That's hypocrisy. He has no peace inside of him. The king has no peace. He doesn't sleep. He couldn't sleep until those kids are executed. And then he got peace. He said, okay, I got rid of all the kids. The Messiah is one of them. We're done. But in Jesus' case, there's no violence. And this is what I want us to think about. He is the King of Peace, but without violence. How is that? Because he came not to fight blood and flesh. That's what St. Paul say. Our fight is not with flesh and blood. Listen to this, it's very important. Jesus has no human enemy. Sometimes you say, is the devil real? Is the devil not real? Is the devil something that someone, or it's just an idea? Well, let me ask you this. Would the Son of God come from heaven to fight shadows or nobody? Think about it. The Son of God has to come from heaven and to walk on the earth and to fast and to sweat and to hunger and to suffer and to die just for an idea. Does that make sense to anybody? No. The Satan is real, and the kingdom of Satan is real. Today in the morning we read the gospel of Jesus casting out a demon. It's not a coincidence. He's casting out demons because his enemy that he needs to get rid of is not a human being. It's not Augustus. It is not Herod. It is not Judas. It's not Pilate. It is Satan himself, that no human being, how much army they got, can conquer, because he conquered the head of us, Adam and Eve. And since then, no one could do anything with this enemy. When Jesus comes, when he came, he stood in the desert and he defeated him. The first thing he did, defeated him. And he defeated the sin that Satan caused. He defeated the sin, and his sin has no power over us. And he defeated death that Satan brought. So Jesus came fighting a kingdom, and he spoke about it this way. He said, when they told him, oh, you're casting demons by the head of demons, what did Jesus say? How can the kingdom of the demons stand if it fights itself? He knows that he is a king, and he has a kingdom. To establish peace, he has to do what to that kingdom? To conquer it. Defeat it, completely eradicate it as a power. So he gets excited. Jesus, from time to time, he gets excited and said, I saw Satan coming down like lightning. He was like thrown from heaven, like somebody had pushed him so violently. And then he says, therefore, I give you power to trample on serpents and scorpions, and no evil can take power over you. Where do you get that power from? From Christ. He's the one, the king who defeated the devil. That's why he is going to bring peace. How is the priest is going to come? He's giving us his peace. But the problem is, if we don't feel peace in our life, then most probably the devil has something in it, some way or another. If you don't feel peace in your life, the devil has managed to implant something in your heart, in your life, in your mind, that is fighting against you. St. James would say this, where is the wars? Where is the fractions, the discontent? Where is the rakas happening? It's not from your desires that's fighting among your members? When we do want something and we don't know how to get it, and we know it's wrong, and we know what we're doing is wrong, but we have no way of defending ourselves or fighting. But no, we do have a way to fight. Now, when we go to Christ and how he stood in front of his enemies, I'm going to just give you a list of the human people that actually was against Jesus. The Pharisees. Have you seen him aggressive or fighting them or bringing fire from heaven like the disciples asked him? No. When he stood before the high priest, when he stood before Pilate, what did he say? Pilate said, "Are you a king?" He said, "Yes, I'm a king, but my kingdom is not from this world. If so," he told Peter, "my Father will bring 12 armies to fight." Who are you fighting then if you're a king? How are you going to, where is the enemy that you need to establish your rule over them? He said, "My fight is with Satan." When you think about it, you and I have a problem with this. I'll tell you, our problem is, and I said it on the New Year's Eve, and I'm going to say it again today. Listen to me and listen carefully. You always see as Jesus the meek, the gentle, the nice. Please change your idea. Jesus can be very violent. But his violence is not against us. He loved us. Not against sinners. Isn't the gospel saying that he loved sinners? He was friends of sinners. He was friend of sinners, right? But where is his violence? I'll tell you where is his violence. When it showed up, you see glimpses of it. When Peter told him, he said to Peter and the disciples, "I'm going to go to Jerusalem, and there I'll be crucified. I will be tortured." And what did Peter say? "God forbid, Lord." Compassion, love, sweet. And what did Jesus react? How did he react? He blew him. He didn't blow Peter, because Peter is not the source of the saying. The saying is coming from a snake. Someone who pretends that wants your best and is going to give you something good, but behind that there is destruction, death. The tree is good, look at it, it will make you like God. But after that, what happens? There is death, right? So Peter is telling him, "God forbid you should be crucified." That's not Peter. And then Jesus, I want to just make sure that you understand, when Jesus did it, he didn't say, "Oh, go away." No, he didn't say that. He said, "Get beyond me, Satan." I'm sure Peter just kind of shocked. And all of a sudden, this idea about Jesus not being crucified disappeared. He didn't want to even think about it again. The same way Jesus acted with the devil in the desert. In the desert, Jesus was extremely violent with the devil. When he said to him, "Turn the stones into bread," what would Jesus say? He doesn't say, "Man does not live by..." No, he said, "Man does not live by bread alone." He is speaking in violence, extreme violence. He would blow that voice out completely. The same, that's why you have it at the end, when he said to him, "Bow to me, I'll give you the..." What did Jesus say? "Get away from me, Satan." You notice here there is a lot of anger in Jesus when Satan is confronted. Anger. That's the key word. Anger. No soldier fights in an army, in a war, that cannot have anger. You have to have anger. How are you going to kill somebody that you feel bad for? "Oh, it's going to hurt." That doesn't work. You have to really hate the enemy to be able to fight him. And you exercise violence. You have to exercise violence against your enemy. So this is what Jesus did. But Jesus with humans, even those who persecuted him, did he exercise any violence? Not at all. Not at all. Actually, he forgave them. He loved them. Because he knew they were all subdued. They were all conquered and defeated by the devil. So he came to fight the devil. And the devil is real. Think about it. If the devil is not real, Jesus would not have to do all this. He didn't need to come from heaven. Okay. So when we say that, then I come to the practical point. the practical point, and said it the New Year's Eve, and I'm going to say it again. To have peace, to have the peace of Christ, you have to defend your heart. Because Jesus already gave us his peace. He told us, he told the church, my peace I give to you, my peace I leave with you. As the Father had given him his peace, the peace of the Father, he's given it to us. So how do you defend that peace? How do you defend that peace? Jesus said, watch and pray. How do you do that? You have to be very violent with any idea, especially the idea that seems sweet, that promise you pleasure, the ideas that leads to temptation. You don't want to be like Herod. He's defending his rule, and he died, by the way. He killed those kids, and he died. We know that Herod is dead. Or like Augustus Caesar, who had fought many wars, and then he died. You want to be acquiring the peace of Christ that has no end, then you have to be very violent with temptation. Very violent. You cannot allow temptation to play with you. And it's Jesus who said to us, if a strong man watches over his house, my heart, if the strong man watches over his house, everything he has is safe. What do I have, Lord? He says, my peace. The first thing I give you is my peace. But if you want your peace to disappear and to lose energy, let your house be taken over. That's why I have to defend my house. How do you do that? Temptation come. Let's do this. How about this? It's very nice, very pleasurable. If I don't, they say this, get away from me. Stop it. You have no place in here. And if you want, I'm telling you, and on my own conscience, you can curse that voice. When was the first time we did this? Anybody remember? What was the first time you did it and we forgot about it completely? In baptism. What do we do in baptism? I renounce you, Satan, with all your evil soldiers, with all your principalities, with all your wickedness and the rest of your hypocrisy. Why hypocrisy? He pretends he's our friend, but he's actually is our mortal enemy. He wants us dead. This is the first time. And we don't keep it. And we have this weapon, and you say, Lord, I'm defeated. I don't know what to do. And tears come down. And we feel like so weak. And then God will say, I give you the power to trample on serpents. You have to rebuke that voice. I know, and the monks tell me, they hear each other screaming at night sometimes. Why do they scream at night? They're screaming at temptations. They fight it very aggressively. This is the beginning of having power over demons. You want to be able to cast out demons? You don't need to be a specially gifted person. Any Christian can cast out demons. If you already cast them from your heart, if you already had the power against them in your heart, you can cast demons. But because we are friends with demons, how can we cast it? The demon, if you want to cast a demon and say, oh, you're my friend. Why are you speaking like this? Don't you know what we do together in your bedroom? Don't you know what we're doing together in this or that or this? We're friends. Why are you yelling at me? Come on, come off it. That's exactly true. But we have no power because we're not angry. About Isaiah the recluse, in the first article of the Philokalia, I said this and I'm going to say it again, is he said, no purity of heart without anger. If you don't exercise anger against temptation, you're already lost. You have to have that anger, natural anger. So to keep the peace of Christ, he is the King of peace, and he ruled, and he defeated Satan, and he had taken power over all these things. And remember, St. Paul says that our fight is not with flesh and blood, not with humans. Now, you hate a human, and you get to exercise anger against human, that's pathetic. Because you should not hate a human and exercise anger against a human where your real enemy is you can't do anything with them. That's very sad. Think about it. Your real enemy who's going to actually damn you and put you in hell is you don't do anything with them. But you're so angry with someone. You're so angry with this and this and this. What is this? That's hypocrisy. Let me say this in Arabic. بالعربي ان ربنا يسوع المسيح النهارده بعد ما اتولد، هيرودس لما سمع من المجوس ان في الطفل ده اللي هيتولد وهيبقى ملك، اتحمق قوي وقال ايه؟ روحوا قولوا لي هو فين. فضحكوا عليه المجوس، والملاك قال لهم ما تروحلوش تاني، وما راحش. فما عرفش مين الوعي اللي في بيت لحم اللي هو الملك ده. فراح بعت العساكر بتاعه قال لهم ايه؟ اقتلوا لي كل العيال اللي في بيت لحم من سن يومين، مش عارف شهر، مش فاكر، لسنتين. ليه سنتين؟ هم قالوا له احنا شفنا النجم من سنتين، فكل العيال اللي في الفتره دي لازم يموتوا. يا سلام. طب ليه؟ قال لك عشان انا الملك، مش حد تاني يبقى ملك، مفيش حد هيبقى ملك غيري حتى لو معمول بنبوه. ايه الخيبه دي؟ ما انت هتموت يا اخي. ومات البعيد ومات. في ايامه كان في القيصر بتاع روما كان اسمه اغسطس. حاجه تضحك، اغسطس عمل حاجه اسمها السلام الروماني. عمل سلام بتاع روما، سلام معمول مخصوص، معمول في ايطاليا، ميد ان ايطالي. السلام ده عمله ازاي؟ بانه قهر كل الممالك اللي حواليه وثبت نفسه هو الايه؟ الامبراطور. يقولوا من سنه 27 قبل الميلاد، وكملوا بعديه لغايه ماركس اوريليوس سنه 180. يعني 200 سنه من سلام روما ان يستولد على كل الحتت. وعملوا ايه؟ يقول لك عمل طرق عشان يخلي الجيش بتاعه يروح في اي حته بسرعه وما يستكش. والطرق عشان يعمل لازم يدفع فلوس، فيجمع الفلوس ازاي؟ بالضرايب. عشان يعمل الضرايب لازم يعمل تعداد، فعمل التعداد اللي احنا نسمع عنه في لوقا 2 اول صح 2 لوقا. يقول لك في ايام الاكتتاب الاول الذي جرى في ايام اغسطس قيصر، حيث كان كيرينيوس والي على سوريا. الاكتتاب ده عمله اغسطس عشان يجمع فلوس، بعد كده هيجمع الضرايب بعد كده، وبعدين هيعمل الطرق ويعمل مجاري الميه والحاجات دي، كل ده عشان يسهل طرق الجيش بتاعه. الجيش الروماني كان منظم جدا. وعمل السلام بتاعه، حاجه عجيبه جدا. لكن في ايامه اشعياء تنبأ على دي لما قال ايه؟ لانه يولد لنا ولد ونعطى ابنا وتكون الرياسه على كتفه، مش الامبراطور الروماني ولا هيرودس، ويدعى اسمه عجيبا مشيرا الها قديرا ابا ابديا رئيس السلام. لنمو رياسته وللسلام لا نهايه على كرسي داود وعلى مملكته ليثبتها ويعضدها بالحق والبر من الان الى الابد. ده اللي هيقوله الملاك للعذراء، لها يجلس على كرسي داود ابيه ويكون لا يكون لملكه انقضاء. هو ملك السلام. عشان كده الكلام عن السلام بالذات والتركيز عليه مهم قوي. طب السلام اللي هيعمله ربنا يسوع المسيح يبدا منين؟ مش هيبدا من ان احنا نقوي البشر زي ما الملوك دي عملت. الملك الاولاني شاف الجيوش الثانيه هي الايه؟ العداء بتوعه، ولما هيعمل يهزمهم هياخد السلام. الملك الصغير ده بتاع هيرودس بتاع يهوديه قال لك السلام بتاعه هيجي لما نعمل ايه؟ لما نقتل العيال. ده ايه ده؟ ده ايه المستوى ده؟ هقتل الاطفال دول انا هيبقى عندي سلام، هنام بالليل مستريح. طب ما انت هتموت بعيد. وبعد كده ماتوا والسلام اللي عملوه ايه؟ اتقلب. يعني السلام بتاع اغسطس ده انتهى سنه 180. يقول لك بدات الانقسامات تاني في المملكه في الامبراطوريه الرومانيه. امال ايه السلام اللي جاي يعمله ربنا يسوع المسيح ملك السلام؟ قال لك اول سلام عايز اعمله جوه الانسان، لما ياخدنا ينظفنا يحطنا في المعموديه ويدينا سلامه ويدينا روح القدوس، وبعدين علينا شغل. قال كده ايه؟ اعطيكم السلطان ان تدوسوا الحيات والعقارب ولا يقع عليكم شيء. حاجه مهمه جدا. واحد من اباء السحرة اسمه القديس اشعياء قال كده، قال بدون غضب لا يمكن ان يقتني الانسان النقاوه. غضب على مين يا عم؟ قال لك غضب على ايه؟ على الشهوه اللي جايه تقومني، او التجربه اللي جايه تقوم الشهوه بتاعتي. يعني اعمل لها ايه يعني؟ قال لك معظمنا احنا معظمنا كده بنعمل ايه؟ بنعيط لربنا نقول له يا رب انا ضعيف، انا خاطي، انقذني، شيلها من عليا. اقول لك ربنا ايه؟ طب ما انا اديتك السلطان ان تدوس. طب اعمل ايه يعني؟ اعمل اللي عمله ربنا يسوع المسيح. هو ربنا يسوع المسيح كان بيعمل ايه مع الشيطان؟ كان بيعمل ايه مع الشياطين ربنا؟ ما تسمعش في مره ان ربنا قابل الشيطان غير لما عمل ايه؟ انتهروا. يعني انت تقدر تنتهر الشيطان؟ ايوه. بس قبل ما تفكر تطلع شياطين، طلع الاول الايه؟ التجارب اللي بتحارب فينا جوانا، زي ما قال القديس يعقوب، قال من اين الخصومات؟ من اين الحروب؟ بيتكلم على عدم السلام. أليست من لذاتنا المحاربه في اعضائنا؟ يعني التجارب جايه لنا جوه، قبل ما احاربها بره ابتدي احاربها الاول ايه؟ جوه. طب طب اعمل لها ايه؟ قال لك خلي اللسان يبقى وعيه صاحي. قال كده اذا سهر قوي متسلحا فان امواله تكون في سلام. لكن لو غفل ايه اللي بيحصل؟ بيجي واحد يعمل ايه؟ يسرق كل حاجه. ايه اللي هيسرقه؟ اول حاجه هيسرقها ايه؟ اول حاجه يسرقها الشهوه. تسرقها ايه؟ السلام بتاعنا. طب اعمل لها ايه؟ انتهرها. اول مره عملت كده وعملتي كده لما كانت امنا واخدانا واحنا بيبي صغير كده في المعموديه وقالت ايه؟ هو ده اول الكلام. اجحدك ايها الشيطان. ما قلناش، ما بنقولش يا رب اجحد لي الشيطان، ما قلناش كده. لا، احنا كلمنا الشيطان مباشره قلنا له ايه؟ اجحدك ايها الشيطان وكل اعمالك الرديئه وكل شياطينك وكل جنودك وكل حيلك المضله الى اخره. يعني معنى صح في علينا دور احنا، يعني على راي اشعياء لما قال ايه؟ بدون غضب لا يقتني الانسان. يعني لازم عندنا غضب ضد الشيطان. طب الشيطان ده حقيقي؟ بكل تاكيد. هو ربنا لازم يعمل ايه؟ اسالكم انا، هو ملك وقالها له بيلاطس، قال له انت ملك؟ قال له اه بس مملكتي مش من العالم ده. طب ما بتحاربنيش ليه؟ طب ما انا الممثل بتاع اغسطس ده، هم بيقولوا لي ان انت قايم تقوم الناس علينا. قال لا، مش قايم، مش جاي اقوم الناس على اي حد، ومش هعمل ثوره، ومش عايز الملك ده. طب امال جاي تحارب مين وعايز تعمل ايه؟ جاي ليه؟ ايه هدف مجيئك للارض؟ قال لك القديس يوحنا كده، لهذا اظهر الابن لكي ينقض اعمال ايه؟ اعمال مين؟ ينقض اعمال مين؟ مش اغسطس ولا هيرود، ينقض اعمال ابليس. طب انقضها ازاي؟ شفته في الصحراء وهو بيهت في الشيطان، اذهب عني يا شيطان. لما بطرس الشيطان مسكه وقال له ايه؟ قال له ما تقول له كده الكلام، مش صعبان عليك يا اخي؟ مش صعبان عليك المعلم بتاعك بيقول هتصلب وهتبهدل وهتف عليا؟ قول له حاجه. قام بطرس قال له ايه؟ حشاك يا رب. كلام حلو، ودي شغله الشيطان كده دايما، كلام ايه؟ حلو، كلام عسل. وبعدين ربنا عارف ان لو هو ما راحش الصليب اللي هيحصل؟ احنا كلنا هيحصل لنا ايه؟ هنروح في الباي باي. فقال له ايه؟ قال له اذهب عني يا شيطان. هو بيكلم بطرس ولا بيكلم الشيطان؟ الشيطان عمره ما هيكلم بطرس كده، بطرس حبيبه. لكن انتهروا بقوه لدرجه ان بطرس، انا متاكد بعد هذه الكلمه بطرس ما فكرش، حتى مش ما اتكلمش، ما فكرش فيها تاني، ما جاتش على باله خلاص. ليه؟ لان انتهر الشيطان اللي بيكلمه. واحنا محتاجين نعمل كده. احنا محتاجين نعمل كده في حياتنا. عايز الخطيه تطلع من حياتك، لو ماسكه فيك جامد انتهرها، زعق فيها. كتير في الرهبان في الصحراء يقول لك بنسمعهم يزعقوا بالليل. بيزعق مع مين؟ عارفين بيزعق مع مين؟ مع التجارب. بيقول له تعالى نفتح الانترنت نتفرج على الحاجه دي، تعالى نشوف القصه دي، تعالى نبص لده، تعالى نبص لدي، تعالى نفكر في اللي عمله فلان، تعالى نعمل ايه، ناكل حاجه كده حلوه في وسط الصيام. ما ده اللي عمله مع ربنا يسوع المسيح. هرد اقول له ايه؟ لا 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 لا، بلاش دي تزعل ربنا. انا مش هقول له كده، اقول له ايه؟ غور بعيد عني، غور في الجحيم اللي انت ايه؟ طالع منه. ولو شتمته مفيش خطيه خالص. عايزين تتمتعوا بالشتيمه؟ اشتموا الشيطان، محدش هيحسبها عليكم. انا بكلمكم جد، لانه ملعون ولازم نلعنه، ولازم احنا جحدناه معناها ايه؟ هقتلك، لو شفتك هقتلك، ولو بطريقه او باخرى قمت هعمل ايه؟ هقتلك تاني، ولو قمت تاني هقتلك تالت. مش عايزك خالص. اجحدك هي معناها كده، تشتمه، تهزقه، تصرخ فيه لغايه لما هتلاقي حاجه غريبه حصلت، انه بطل ايه؟ زي الكلب لا مؤاخذه، بطل يعمل ايه؟ يضايقك، بطل يضايقك. لكن للاسف احنا ما بنعملش كده. انا مهزوم، نقعد نعيط، نيجي لابونا انا مهزوم، انا غلبان، انا ضعيف، ما تصلي لي يا ابونا. طب وفين السلاح؟ ما ربنا مديك طبنجه في جيبك، خلصها، خلص القصه دي. ليه بتتعامل معاه كانك ما عندكش حاجه، كانك مكشوف، كانك ربنا ما عملكش حاجه خالص؟ هو ده السلام اللي جاي ربنا يعمله، ودي الهزيمه اللي لازم نعملها في حياتنا للشيطان عشان نبقى في سلام المسيح. هو ده. من فضلكم افهموا احنا علينا ايه. ربنا يسوع المسيح ما يجيش يحارب بني ادمين، وده قالها بولس، قالها كده، ليس حربتنا ليست مع ايه؟ يعني ما فيش غيظ ناحيه اي حد، ولا متغاظين من حد، ولا عايزين ندمر حد، ولا عايزين نشتم حد، ولا عايزين نعمل اي حاجه من ناحيه حد. احنا لينا عدو احنا عارفينه كويس قوي، والعدو ده معانا طول الوقت، ما بيسيبناش. كل واحد فينا بيجي له يقول له كلمتين. هنعمل معاه ايه؟ فكروا فيها. هتصالح معاه وتقول اصله حبيبي، زي ما كنت بقول بالانجليزي، انت المفروض تطلع شياطين. اي واحد فيكم، اي حد فيكم عنده قوه يطلع الشيطان. طب ما بنطلعهوش ليه؟ اصل عارفين هنطيب يطلع الشيطان. وحصلت مع راهب اقول اطلع من احنا الصحبيين، ده احنا في اوضه النوم، ده احنا يعني عارفين كل حاجه عن بعض، ده احنا حبايب قوي. جاي دلوقتي تزعق فيا؟ انت بتعمل ايه يعني؟ ما ينفعش، ما ينفعش. هتبقى رياء، هتبقى رياء. عايز تعرف تطلع الشيطان من الناس، ابدا طلعه الاول منين؟ من جتتنا احنا. لإلهنا كل المجد، الآب والابن والروح القدس الآن وكل أوان.